Joella May here. November 12th, Saturday. It's like 8:30 in the morning. So, yes, I'm very sad right now. Um, so I thought I was doing what the universe wanted, moving forward and things, and um, like got this idea in my head a few earlier this week, last week. It's been over a week because I've been planning for it for a while. When I went to Michael's and I got this, things were on sale, so I bought stuff to do for my jewelry booth. Because last year I flopped out because my emotional mindset wasn't there, and like I was doing really good and everything, and this morning I was exhausted, but I was getting up, I was putting everything in the car and I was loading it up, and I was getting my son ready, and I gave him a bagel and cream cheese and orange juice, and I was just finished loading up in the car, and I was about to take my shower, and I was checking in on him, and he was having an anxiety attack. And in hindsight, I should have been better prepared for that. I should have waited in one more week before making the venture to the flea market. I should have taken 2 or 3 weeks to prepare, but I was thinking timing with the holidays and everything that I really should get out there this weekend. And today is going to be a beautiful day because the hurricane just passed over yesterday. So logically, I had all those things in my mind and it was all going to play out. But then my son had an anxiety attack, so my whole world stopped. Everything just stopped. And I can't get mad at him because I would have the same kind of anxieties attacks that he had today that would cripple me and cripple my life. And that's the hardest part about watching him go through that pain, is because I've lived that pain majority of my life. It's stopped me from doing so many things I wanted to do with my life. But and we had a long talk about it. It's the first time we've talked in a while about it. We both agreed that we need to go back to therapy. That we talked about the reasons why it didn't work before, and we'll have different intentions for it now. We won't have the school guidelines around us and all of that. Because the last time we went to the doctor for his checkup, she gave him a referral, but we were still in a decent enough space of mind where we didn't think that it was that detrimental to go to therapy, because my son hasn't had an anxiety attack in a while. But that's because we haven't presented any situations for him to feel an anxiety attack. Because basically, my son's an introvert, so he lives at home, he never leaves the house except to go to doctor's appointments. And we were relatively okay functioning like that. But his birthday's coming up soon. He's going to be 20. So we were talking about how he needs to get back out in the world. And that's why we thought the flea market would be good for us. Because, he could sit in the car most of the time. Because I got the double space. So we could park the car there with us and everything. And yeah, it didn't work out today. So it's like all that time and money I invested is poof. So hopefully we'll be able to salvage tomorrow. I'm just gonna spend the rest of the time today going through my house, I guess, and getting more stuff together and seeing how full I can load my car for tomorrow. Hopefully my son will come with me. If not, I'll have to just push through the day, because it's not like I can get my money back for the space. So, yeah. I was really, really excited about doing the flea market and working with my son. I really was. He's sleeping right now. I'm so drained from crying for the past hour or so that I don't know if I can go to sleep, because I'm just so overwhelmed with the financial aspect of everything. But I can't tell you how many times my anxiety attacks ruined my relationships. But both of my partners had anxiety too, so it was like a double whammy. Sometimes we were able to work together, and then sometimes we clashed like really hard. Anxiety and depression, it's a real issue. It's been a lifelong process for me, and it seems like for many in my family. On both sides, from my mother's side and my father's side. I don't know. More my father's side than my mother's side, I think. I don't know. Yeah, I know, my nose keeps running. I'm making this video today for mental illness awareness. Sometimes we might seem like everything's fine, but it's not. It's like I explained to my son today, I go through this daily struggle too. And I was telling him, I'm sorry that you have my mental issues. I told him I'm grateful that we can understand it now, because it took me 40-something years to understand mine. Like, I would talk about him over my life, like through my 20s and everything, but and I thought all my issues were just because of the abuse I went through growing up. But it seems like it's more than that. I don't know. It's a pattern that kind of coincides with it, but is not a direct result of it. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. So we're gonna go back to therapy, and I know the doctor on Monday. When we did his checkup, the doctor gave him a referral, but we don't know where we put it. It's probably been 6 months since they did the referral. But yeah, because I was getting concerned that maybe he needed to do blood work, because he kept talking about brain fog and dizziness. But I think it was all the anxiety attack, because we talked about it on the phone last night while I was at the store, because I was getting stuff for lunch. Guess we'll eat it here. Or he'll eat it here, because I mainly got food for him, because I was rushing around so much yesterday that I only hit 20 minutes in the store. So I do all that. So I guess today I'll clean and prepare for tomorrow, and hopefully tomorrow will be a win-win, and I'll make all my investment back. We'll see. But yeah, my second table I ordered hadn't come either, so I was frustrated on that because I didn't know how I was going to display my stuff without the second table. I really hit home today about mental health awareness. My son hasn't had an anxiety attack in so long that he thought it was better. He thought it was okay. But it's something we have to work through every day for the rest of our lives. Until we can figure it out and function better. I wish I had more to say on the subject, but I'm so tired and mentally exhausted through going through the emotional process. I mean, it was so hard because, like, at that peak of anxiety, and the reason why I'm trying to explain how the levels of anxiety work, because you might get anxiety attacks and not even know you're having anxiety attacks. Seriously. Because, like, one of the things when he was describing how it was hitting him, because he's like, there's levels, like, he can process through certain levels, but if he gets to that certain anger level, he doesn't know how to process through it. That's one of his biggest things, and that holds him down, as we talked, was about guilt. So, like, his levels, we'll get back to the guilt. With the anger, you get to a certain point where he gets so mad that he just wants to break things, right? Or punch things, scream at things. But the thing is he never wants to hurt anyone. So then he feels guilty for feeling angry, and then internalizes that even more to where he's like mad at himself for existing, and the words and terms that he uses to describe himself are so heartbreaking. And as he was talking, then I progressed with the way I would talk, and I would talk about things and how I felt. Like, for example, we talked about manipulation, because he came to a realization when we were talking after we were coming down from the anxiety attack that sorry if I don't look directly at you all the time, but without my glasses you're blurry, and sometimes I need to close my eyes to remember the full thought, because it's hard to focus when I can't see properly. Yeah, it's a little better, but my glasses are dirty. So, like, we were talking as the come down from the anxiety attack, and we started talking about manipulation, because my second husband says that I manipulated him through the relationship. And then we're like, no, it's not manipulation. It's the individual person's internalized self-guilt. Yeah, this is what my son was telling me. Like, he didn't use it in those words, but that's what he was explaining. Because he was like, analyzing it, because he kept thinking, oh, so my mom's a manipulator. But how does she manipulate her? Let me listen to these words and see how that works. So when we were talking and coming down from the anxiety, and then he got to the point where he would just let me talk and he was listening to me, you know, too overwhelming, too much information. But during the process, he was able to make an analogy that was really interesting. So, like, when I'm going through a process, I want to talk it all out, like, completely. Like, every part of it. I want to, like, get it all out so I can understand, because I don't want to keep it within my body. I don't want to maintain it. I don't want to manifest an illness from something that's bothered me. I rather talk it out, get it out, and deal with the emotions. Because, as I was younger, dealing with anxiety, having so much anxiety was because I wasn't dealing with emotions. I wasn't dealing with why I was having certain reactions instead of just having responses. It's that fight or flight kind of thing. Oh, that's weird. So the analogy. Oh, snap. I was not trying to do that. I don't even know how it turned itself off. See, and that's another thing. My electronics have been doing really weird stuff lately. I know it's spirit. So I try not to, like, get all into it. So the analogy, right, is listening to me talk. And as I'm explaining something, like, for example, direct example, we use the flea market. And I'm talking about the process and everything I went through to get through it and this and that, and how I wasn't upset with him about not going and this and that. But even after talking for a while, I started talking about how I still wanted to try to go and this and that. And the fact that I still went back to wanting to try to go made him feel more guilty. And through his analogy, that was his self-proclaimed guilt. But in other situations, and this is what he analyzed, was other people aren't going to make that clarification that is their self-proclaimed guilt for for wanting to problem solve my situation. It's not me trying to make someone feel guilty or manipulate them into wanting to fix my situation. It's their self-proclaimed guilt because they didn't help me in a situation. So they feel bad for me being sad. But it's not me trying to manipulate them to make them do what I want. Can you understand that analogy and that clarification? I thought it was really interesting that my son was the one explaining it to me. And I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Because, like, I'm always trying to analyze things and understand the why of things. Because that's what I do. That's what I am. That's how I've always been. I'm a Libra. I'm about the balance and the scales. I go above and beyond to avoid conflict, to the point where it can be self-deprivation. But, it's a thing. I want to understand. And because I want to understand, I assume that someone else wants to understand. But the only way I can fully understand is if I talk it out to someone. Now that someone that I'm talking it out to is going to have a completely different response than what I would expect. And that's where these terms come in. I found it interesting. I don't know if you do. I hope it helps you by listening to our analogy today. And it helped me understand the whole process of anxiety and the responses, the reactions instead of responses, why people would react to me in the way I would talk instead of responding to what I was needing, that I was trying to express. Yeah. Because I can remember so many times where I was getting into a debate with my first husband, and he'll get stuck on a particular word, and he would go off on that word as if that word was my whole conversation. And sometimes that word could be completely insignificant to what I was trying to express, because I was at a loss for words. So I was word searching while I was expressing my emotions. It's interesting to be able to have different perspectives and to be able to look outside the situation, to have a better comprehension, to hopefully in future situations be able to have a better analogy of how conversations flow. I don't know. That's why I'm here talking to you today, because I'll play this back and listen to it and be like, okay. But you see, as I talk, I look a lot happier, feeling a little better, because I feel like I accomplished something with the conversation that I've had in front of you today. But I'm grateful that my son and I were able to bond and talk today. It just sucks that it was on a day I was investing in. So, yeah, it still hurts financially, but I can't tell you how many times I've been in these situations where I've just straight up lost money because I was trying to make something happen. Now, was I trying to do it out of ego? That's my biggest question to myself right now. I don't think I was, but I'm going to analyze that for a while. Why I thought it was a good idea to do this flea market. Why I thought it was okay to push my son when I knew he wouldn't be ready. But we have been kind of talking the past couple weeks where he seemed like it was okay, Haven't seen him have an anxiety attack in probably a freaking year, So I didn't think that it was going to happen like that. I really thought it was going to just flow out and things are going to be good. But there's more for me to work on before I can step out into these ventures, these little mini ventures. It's kind of like a test for the big picture. I don't know how to do things differently. I thought I was doing it differently this time, but I literally was probably doing it the exact same way I did last year and not even thought about it. Yeah. So, it's a hard, expensive lesson to learn and understand today. We gotta work with our anxiety levels. We can't push to break them, because then we fall apart. And the fall apart's it's better when they're scheduled. You're like, schedule a fall apart? How does that work? There are points where, like, I should have waited to pay for the spot yesterday. But I got caught up in the moment. I got caught up in the moment because I was ready to roll. But my son wasn't ready to roll. So, was that my ego convincing myself that it'll all work out? I thought I was following what the universe wanted me to do. And maybe it was, but my son wasn't ready. So I gotta learn how to do those mini check-ins with him that make sure he's really ready, that it's gonna work. Like, do a test run. But my scheduling for Friday kind of didn't make that possible. Like, I had it in my mind to take him with me when I went to do the check-in, but I ended up squeezing a massage in yesterday morning, and the check-in was only like 15 minutes away from my client's place, so I just like scooted over there instead of coming home and getting my son, because I live like 49 minutes away from the flea market. So it's a traveling task. And, I was like, oh, let me just like cut a little time here. Big mistake. I should have had my son come with me to the check-in for the drive and see how he dealt with the drive and getting there and seeing the place when it was empty. And then maybe he would have been more comfortable with it, with the baby steps. I had that in my mind to do, but I didn't follow through with that one step. And I think that one step would have made all the difference. Because then I would have known to make that investment that day or not yesterday. So, yeah, it's those mini check-ins. When we know that the person that we're working with has a tendency to get an anxiety attack, need those little mini check-ins to make sure they're okay throughout the process. And don't think you can steamroll them through the process, because all that does is create more resistance and more havoc. Because I thought I could like push him through the process and we could make it happen and go anyway. And then he got angry. He didn't want to get angry. And he was mad at himself for feeling angry. But he had to express it. And yeah. It's not something you can sweep under the rug. Anxiety is a real thing. There are ways to learn to deal with it on a regular basis. And just because you don't have one every day doesn't mean one won't pop up on you. So you need to keep up with your daily practices. Or this is what I've learned through this experience, is I need to keep up with daily practices for myself and for my son, so we can progress in this world that we live in today and understand ourselves. So hopefully there'll come a time where we no longer have anxiety attacks. But I don't know. I'm 49 and I still get them. Day to day by day process. I have more tools now to help me calm down when I do have them. I have more tools in my toolbox mentally to self-check in when I feel my body getting anxious. And through the split, I've really learned how to tune in with myself, tap into myself with that. Because I don't have someone else next to me saying, hey. So I can take more time for myself, saying it's okay. If it takes me 2 days to get out of bed, it's okay. If it takes me 3 days, to make the meal I want, it's okay. I used to beat myself up for every little thing that I didn't do the way I should do it. And I was beating myself up so much that I just felt completely worthless. And that's what I saw my son doing when he had this anxiety attack today. The words and things that he would say to himself while he was going through the emotional process, because he was mad at himself for feeling the way he was feeling. And I'm like, don't be mad at yourself. I'm not mad at you. This is the way it is. Watching him go through that really reminded me of all the pain I went through my whole life and no one ever understanding what I was going through. So I'm grateful that I can understand what my son's going through. I'm more than grateful. But I still wish I knew how to help him more. So hopefully we can start therapy next week. We'll see how it goes. But I think I came to a hard realization today that that we might have to apply for SSI for my son. Because I don't know if he'll be able to properly function in the work society. His dad had a really hard time with it too, with his depression. Like there was for a while, he was really good when he did construction because he had a mentor that he liked. But when his mentor got laid off and then his best friend at work got killed, his depression got a lot worse. And yeah, that's why we ended up splitting, because I didn't know how to help him and it kept getting worse. So I really hope that my son and I can get the therapy that we need next week. Hopefully we can find the right person to work with. Because we were in therapy for 7 years during grade school and it didn't seem to help him at all. Like there were some therapists that were good, but then they would refer us to other therapists that weren't. Yeah. It's crazy. It sucks. Yeah, I felt like we were going through 3 therapists a year. Because the way their program worked, there were 3-month programs and 6-month programs. They didn't have any for a year, so we could keep the same therapist. Hopefully now that he's an adult, we'll be able to keep the same therapist. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I hold no expectations. But I do know that financially, it's a lot more taxing on me to take care of 2 semi-functional adults. But that's where we're at today. So when someone tells you they're having an anxiety attack, please don't dismiss it. Listen to them. Talk to them. Understand. Don't judge them. It's one of the most detrimental things you can do to someone when they're having an anxiety attack is judge them. Or to tell them their pain's not real. This can be one of the worst feelings. And it literally feels like a heart attack sometimes. So, love yourself. Love your neighbor. Care for those ones that you see in pain. Don't push them away or dismiss them or judge them. Hold safe space for them. so you can all move forward in your lives. Thanks for listening to me today. I hope that helps. Remember, I love you, and I love me, and you love you, and I'll take care of me, and you take care of you, and we'll be good. Yeah. You have amazing grand rising, you beautiful souls. It's a great world out there. Don't convince yourself that's not.